This is the plane polygon drawing, so also called low poly drawing. So we're going to sculpt by drawing. The assignment is to simplify a three-dimensional form, right? Into planes, draw the form as it is rendered in low-res polygons. Pay attention to light and shade accordingly. So low poly, like if you think of like maybe like Nintendo 64, like that's kind of like low poly graphics where everything is kind of angular, you know, rounded things. You could see the planes that kind of make up something that's more rounded. So if you think something along those lines of like resolution, you should find something pretty good. Like if you do a Google image search, it could be whatever you want to draw as far as subject matter, but just put in low poly with it. So like say you wanted to do a tree, just go search tree low poly, or I don't know, a lion low poly. So that should give you some examples of kind of what the finished product should look like. Or you could just take a three-dimensional object, you know, you could grab a piece of fruit like an apple or something, put it down. You could draw an apple, but instead of drawing it round, draw it so it has it's kind of made up of planes. So this one, I have this Iron Man mask, and I did a kind of quick contour line drawing of it. And so now I'll show you how to render with this technique. So we're gonna use charcoal for this, charcoal and eraser. So I got a knead eraser, and then I also have a small, just like a white eraser. So this is the same as like your white eraser. This is just like a small version. So, but I want to kind of go through and put in, you know, start to put grays in. So even like the gold's gonna be kind of gray, right? Like I wouldn't leave it like the white of the paper. So, and then I'm using, this is just like a sticker, but any kind of scrap piece of paper. This one's just a little bit stiffer than a regular computer printer, but you could use any kind of paper. But what you really need is something with a straight edge. So I'm gonna put it down, and I can do a lot of masking off. So I'm gonna put some charcoal down and kind of smudge it. And so I'm going to work off of the edges. And for the first part, I'm going to be darkening up the surface. So try to get it, get rid of the white, at least start with the gray. There we go. So sometimes I could draw on the masking surface and then kind of just pull it over. So like over here, instead of going on the paper first and getting the marks on the paper, and then kind of push it off, right? And so after a while, when you have enough charcoal just on that masking piece of paper, you don't really have to add a whole lot to get a gray, right? So things like the eyes gonna be a lot darker, so I could probably draw that without kind of masking anything off. You can also use your blending stump if you want to do that. So this is a pretty good example. So see how the edge of this gets kind of blurry. So now I could use a different edge once I have the dark down. I just use my eraser. See, and then I get like a clean edge. So I could go back and forth and shape things. All right, so then that eye gets kind of shaped up a little bit more. So if you pick something that's already sort of blocky, it'll be easy. You know, it doesn't have to be, you could take something that's more rounded and then just apply it to get it this look. That would work too. And so this is gonna be like the dark red down here for the chin, so I'll make this one darker. And you can leave, like not everything, every plane has to be filled in the whole way. You could leave parts of it, right, to kind of get some highlights on it. Let's see, this one should be darker. And so depending on what you're doing, if you're doing dark, you know, dark on light, you can use charcoal. If you need lighter edges, you could do the eraser. Right, but you kind of want to go through and create the drawing by making a series of planes. Like if there's an area that you know is gonna be dark, you could kind of first fill it in and then just go in and chop up and put in parts that are gonna be a little bit darker. And then also areas that can be lighter. You just go in and make this edge a little sharper. Kind of hit the sides from the shapes from both sides. So you could use the compressed charcoal, that's what I'm using, or you could use the vine charcoal. I would say the vine charcoal is a little bit, like it'll be good for getting subtle parts, but it's it kind of smudges. It doesn't like stick to the paper as well. So the compressed charcoal, even though it's gonna be a lot darker, so you kind of have to commit to things a little bit faster. Like I would say use that one, but if there's little subtle parts, like in little areas, you could use a vine charcoal to kind of put things in lighter first, and then you can even go over it later and make them darker. So, but pretty much for this whole thing, I'm just gonna use compressed charcoal and a little bit of the eraser, and that'll be it. So it's gonna take a while to do all the planes, so you know, this is kind of like a quick version, but for your guys' drawings, I would say probably, you know, put in a good, again, like probably about 6 hours, like figure what we would do in class. You know, it'd be 3 hour sessions, so somewhere around there. And so this is just the first stage because I could, you know, I'm just kind of getting things blocked in. But, you know, it's going to take more layers than just one to get it all in there. But first thing you want to do is kind of get rid of all the white and kind of get some sort of gray on everything, because then you could kind of go back in after that and then look at like what parts need to be darker. You know, you could add like those darker parts in there. Right, and then the edge, you can either take your charcoal and kind of clean up the edge by putting in like a dark background. Right, like a really dark background always kind of looks really good with charcoal, but you can do that. You can blend it over, you know, or you could go the other way, and if you want like a light background, you just use your eraser instead. Right, kind of erase some of the over smudges. Cut in there. Right, so I'll go back and forth to finish this, like putting like say this, leaving us like having the dark, leaving that white space, and then kind of darkening up a little bit over here, so I get kind of a white line in there, separating the two. Right, like in here, and then also use the eraser, like let's say this side, because the smudge is kind of blurry on that side. You know, so I could cut in kind of light lines also. You know, or if I want a thin dark line, I could do it the other way. Maybe first put in the dark line, you know, so it's kind of chunky right now, but then I could put it in first and then like mask over it, but then cut in just a little bit over it. Right, and then so here's the edge. I'm just going to move it in a little bit. And I can blend out parts of it. Right, and I could get a thinner line. I think I'd do the same thing on the other side. So here's the edge, and then I'm just gonna go over a little bit, erase what's left over. All right, and then once I have that eraser mark, I could kind of blend it out, just like a little bit of less pressure. So it's kind of like painting with a stencil, like cutting back, like putting a mark down and then cutting back with the background color, but just black and white. So and so you're probably gonna have to do it in passes, like whatever you do, you know, hit with the charcoal, come back and hit it with the eraser, like do just as much work, just as much mark making. Sometimes you could just leave it, you know, you have to blend it in, but you use the paper to kind of mask off and get that area. Get that area sharp. And so this could be, you know, kind of a darker edge. If I want to get it lighter, I just blend the light out a little. You know, or if I need it darker, right, so I can darken in, lighten up areas. So and so you could do the background and kind of cut over everything and make stuff, make the edges kind of sharp, kind of clean. So in other words, like anything that blurs out, that goes over past the edge, you can just cover with the black and kind of like this is kind of a weird edge, right? I could kind of shape this up. And then just blend it all out. So what's a challenge with charcoal is getting crisp edges. So that's it's easy to blend. Blending's really easy. It's getting clean edges. That's the harder part. So with something to mask with, you know, you can get that. And then being that we're drawing just low poly, just planes, like really defined planes, like hard edges, this works out really well for this technique. So the technique kind of, or the material kind of lends itself to the technique. So slip down a little. There we go. So sometimes you can lighten up the area and it sticks out too much, but what happens is, it's like I wanted to lighten it up to show the difference, but then this is too light. So now after I have it light, I can put this here. I'm just gonna drag across both these surfaces, like everything in there. I got kind of a shadow that runs up on that side. So same thing with this one, right? Like I wanted the light and dark, but it stands out too much. So now I could just do this whole area. And because what's already there will sort of, it's kind of like putting a wash over it. All right, so. All right, it's getting there. Cat singing in the background. So I hope that means she likes it. And so I've been using this wide eraser to kind of get like edges, but then you can also, like let's say I have a highlight like right about here, right? Like this guy in there. So what I can do is I could put this down. So I kind of protect this line here. And then I could kind of lift off the kneaded eraser. Right, and I got that highlight in there. And then the reason why I'm masking is because I want to keep that line. So I'm going to put this right at the edge of the line, right here, and then kind of move it up a little bit. So I have a little bit of that line that's going to stay. And then I'll Right, so I get this highlight that kind of goes from the gold onto the red, but I still have that line in between, so I still have that edge. So the knead eraser works really good too for getting like subtle parts because I could pinch it down, sort of break up the edge a little. Kind of subtly like lift off a little bit so it's not so dark. This probably should be darker here. All right, so this is how you do like the low polygon drawing. So any questions, you can email me. You could also, I'll post it on Canvas. You could send me messages through there. Email I'll probably get faster though. I'll be able to, I'll see it probably right away, right when you send it. So you could do that if it's something urgent, like you're working on something, or like I don't know what to do, I need advice on how to go this next step. So but yeah, otherwise if you're comfortable using Canvas, you could just send a message on there, but I probably won't see it right away. So and so you can have texture in this. It doesn't have, not everything has to be blended or smoothed out. You know, you can have rough texture if you need. But yeah, so that's that's the technique. So here's a kind of a close-up. All right, yeah, if you have any questions, email me or comment.